The Lord did not care about it, since he was doing his own work in delivering the earth from the midst of the water. Materialistic demons always possess large amounts of gold in various shapes, and they think that a large amount of gold, physical strength, and popularity can save them from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Haribol. So this is Canto 3, Chapter 18, text number 9. I read the verse again. The demon who had a wealth of ornaments, bangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. Okay, so we see the same thing today. If you look at the rappers, not like food rappers, but the rappers, music rappers, yeah. They wear a lot of jewelry, you know, gold necklaces and rings and all kinds of things. And they uh, they use foul language oftentimes, maybe not all of them, but most of them. And they have, like, gold bracelets and gold uh, things hanging from their neck. And they have uh, clothes that are very, very expensive. And they make movies and or different types of televised um, what do you call them? Anyway, they're on the television, and they make a lot of records or rap music and things like that. So Prabhupada says here, materialistic demons always possess large amounts of gold in various shapes, and they think that a large amount of gold, physical strength, and popularity can save them from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This, of course, is false. And there have been many demoniac rappers that looked exactly as this what's Prabhupada is saying here. Materialistic demons always possess large amounts of gold in various shapes, and they think that a large amount of gold, physical strength, and popularity can save them from the wrath of the Supreme Personality of God. Well, many times these rappers, and they're not the only ones, they get murdered. Once you look it up, rappers who are murdered, who have been murdered, you'd be shocked to see there's a large number of them. Because not only they're envious of other people, they're envious of themselves. Now you could say, well, how can someone be envious of himself? Well, let's look at this. A person who's envious of himself or herself does everything to avoid Krishna consciousness. That means they're envious of themselves. They deny themselves the possibility of becoming purified by chanting Hare Krishna and following the regulations of Krishna consciousness. In fact, they deride the principles of Krishna consciousness, and they think they are very powerful because they can have a lot of sex with all different women, and they have a lot of money, and they have nice houses and cars and boats, and therefore they think that they are invincible. You see anything?
Yeah, so unfortunately, A number of rappers have been victims of violence, including murder. The world of rap and hip hop, like many other music genres and industries, have seen its share of tragedies where artists have lost their lives due to various reasons, including conflicts within the music industry, personal disputes, gang related violence, and random acts of. So, there are some examples
Yeah,
here.
go ahead. Let me hear.
Tupac,
Let me hear names of some demons. Go ahead.
Tupac Shakur,
Shakur. Shakur.
one of the most famous.
Tupac Shuffler. Shuffler.
One of the most famous cases is the murder of Tupac Shakur, who was shot in the drive-by shooting in Las Vegas in 1996. Apparently, his murder still remains unsolved with a lot of conspiracy theories. Then there is notorious B.I.G.
Big.
Yeah, big, and the name is Biggie Smalls. Biggie Smalls was killed in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles in 1997, just 6 months after Tupac Shakur's murder. That's also unsolved mystery. Then XXX Temptation, a popular young rapper, was killed and shot in a robbery at a motorcycle dealership in Florida in 2018.
Wow.
Then Nipsey Hussle was fatally shot outside his clothing store in Los Angeles in 2019. So, yeah, these are some other examples.
It's pretty dangerous to become a rapper. You get assassinated.
Yeah, there's
It's a lot of envy.
lots more names, but yeah, Mark Dre, Soldier Slim, Lil Snow, Bankroll Fresh. Interesting, their names are
Yeah.
Pop Smoke. They were all killed.
Yeah. Well, if you take up rapping as a career, you might not live very long. That's actually good for them. Their period of doing nonsense is limited. And why is that? Because a lot of jealousy and hatred takes place because of one or other's, success. And success means the more women you defile, and the more money you have, and then the bigger mansions that you have, and the most cars that you have, and the most jewelry that you have. All these are signs of demons.
Yeah, they all showcase a lot of wealth,
Yeah,
both in their songs as well as they buy some extravagant
yeah.
buildings and
It's extravagant. It's not
extravagant.
extravagant. It's extravagant.
extravagant.
Yeah, yeah. So you see how much hatred and jealousy exists in the rapper world. So it's a good thing to stay away from that.
There are a lot more names. Yeah,
Yeah, a lot more names, right?
yeah.
Well,
The list keeps coming on.
yeah, I don't want to hear any more names of demons.
All of these names are this one of these uh, monikers that they come up with.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh yeah. Like 5 cents or 50 cents.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so the demon who had a wealth of ornaments, spangles, and beautiful golden armor on his body chased the Lord from behind with a great mace. The Lord tolerated his piercing ill words, but in order to reply to him, he expressed his terrible anger. Okay. Well, the Lord could have chastised the demon immediately while the demon was deriding the Lord with ill words. You see how the demons do the exact opposite of devotees. The devotees worship the Lord with choice poetry. And that means you don't have to make up the poetry. You simply repeat what's in the Shastras. There's already choice poetry in the Shastras that glorifies the Lord. Now, if you might say, well, where is that? I didn't see it. Okay, well, let's see. It's Bhagavad Gita. And Bhagavad, I've done this before, but I'll do it one more time. Bhagavad Gita, 11th chapter. You'll see a lot of beautiful verses glorifying the Lord, where it says, second, it says, chapter 11, verse number. Arjuna said, O master of the senses, the world becomes joyful upon hearing your name, and thus everyone becomes attached to you. Although the perfected beings offer you their respectful homage, the demons are afraid and they flee here and there. All this is rightly done. And then it says, O great one, greater even than Brahma, you are the original creator. Why then should they not offer you respectful obeisances on? Why then should they not offer their respectful obeisances unto you? O limitless one, God of gods, refuge of the universe, you are the invincible source, the cause of all causes, transcendental to this material manifestation. You are the original personality of Godhead, the oldest, the ultimate sanctuary of this manifested cosmic world. You are the knower of everything, and you are all that is knowable. You are the supreme refuge above the material modes. O limitless form, this whole cosmic manifestation is pervaded by you. You are air, and you are the supreme controller. You are fire, you are water, and you are the moon. You are Brahma, the first living creature, and you are the great grandfather. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you 1,000 times, and again, and yet again. Obeisances to you from the front, from behind, and from all sides. O unbounded power, you are the master of limitless might. You are all pervading, and thus you are everything. Thinking of you as my friend, I have rashly addressed you, O Krishna, O Yadava, O my friend, not knowing your glories. Please forgive whatever I may have done in madness or in love. I have dishonored you many times, jesting as we relaxed, lay on the same bed, or sat or ate together, sometimes alone and sometimes in front of many friends. O infallible one, please excuse me for all those offenses. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation of the moving and non-moving. You are its worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is equal to you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? You are the supreme Lord, to be worshipped by every living being. Thus I fall down to offer you my respectful obeisances and ask your mercy. As a father tolerates the impudence of his son, a, a friend, the impertinence of a friend, or a wife, the familiarity of a partner, please tolerate the wrongs I may have done you. After seeing this universal form, which I have never seen before, I am gladdened, but at the same time my mind is disturbed with fear. Please, therefore, bestow your grace upon me and reveal again your form as the personality of Godhead, O Lord of Lords. O abode of the universe, O universal form, O thousand-armed Lord, I wish to see you in your four-armed form. Excuse me. I wish to see you in your four-armed form with helmeted head and with club, wheel, conch, and lotus flower on your hands. I long to see you in that form. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, My dear Arjuna, happily have I shown you my internal potency, this supreme universal form within the material world. No one before you has ever seen this primal form, unlimited and full of glaring effulgence. So this is the universal form of the Supreme Lord, the Virat Rupa. Arjuna wanted to see it out of his mercy. He wanted to see it. And Krishna, out of his mercy, where Arjuna showed his universal form full of effulgence and opulence. This form was glaring like the sun, and its many faces were rapidly changing. Krishna showed this form just to satisfy the desire of his friend Arjuna. This form was manifested by Krishna through his internal potency, or yogamaya, which is inconceivable by human speculation. No one had seen this universal form of the Lord before Arjuna. But because the form was shown to Arjuna, other devotees in the heavenly planets and in other planets in outer space could also see it. They had not seen it before, but because of Arjuna, they were able also to see it. In other words, all the disciplic devotees of the Lord could see the universal form, which was shown to Arjuna by the mercy of Krishna. Someone has commented that this form was shown to Duryodhana also when Krishna went to Duryodhana to negotiate for peace. Excuse me. When Duryodhana went to negotiate for peace. Unfortunately, Duryodhana did not accept the peace offer, but at that time, Krishna manifested some of his universal form. But those forms are different from this one shown to Arjuna. It is clearly said that no one had ever seen this form before. O best of the best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine, for neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world. You have been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again of all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. In this verse, chapter 11, verse number 50, it says, in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna was worried about killing Bhisma and Drona, his worshipful grandfather and master. But Krishna said that he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to destroy Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhisma and Drona were silent. And for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Whoa. Always remember this. By such negligence of duty, they should be killed. So if we have some duties and we neglect to do them, it's very serious karma. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna just to show him that these people were already killed for their unlawful action. That scene was shown to Arjuna because devotees are always peaceful and they cannot perform such horrible actions. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. Now Arjuna wanted to see the four-armed form, and Krishna showed him. A devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his respectful, worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed Krishna form so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yeah, of course. How are you going to show your loving uh, service when you're seeing the universal form with millions of heads and millions of everything? That is what's called fourth dimension. Everything in the material world suddenly becomes infinite. So, because of our limited abilities, we can't really deal with such a vision of the uh, infinitely great Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we prefer that the Supreme Lord chose His original form, two-armed form, so we can reciprocate with Him. Could you reciprocate with the Virat Rupa? I don't think so. You'd be so scared, you probably would run away. So, yeah. uh, just a little bit more. So we're going text 10. We just did text 9. The personality of God had said, indeed, we are creatures of the jungle, and we are searching after hunting dogs like you. One who is freed from the entanglement of death has no fear from the loose talk in which you are indulging, where you are bound up by the laws of death. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Demons and atheistic persons can go on insulting the Supreme Person of Godhead, but they forget that they are subjected to the laws of birth. They think that simply by decrying the existence of the Supreme Lord or defying his stringent laws of nature, one can be freed from the clutches of birth and death. Let's see, that's a very important statement there. They think that simply by decrying, in other words, they're belittling, they're it's a type of decrying means that you are saying very negative things.
Publicly denouncing.
Right, publicly denouncing. Okay. They think that simply by decrying the existence of the Supreme Lord or defying his stringent laws of nature, one can be freed from the clutches of birth and death. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that simply by understanding the transcendental nature of God, one can go back to Godhead. Back to Godhead. But one can go back home, back to Godhead. But demons and atheistic persons do not try to understand the nature of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they remain in the entanglement of birth and death. Well, this is wonderful information for us. Simply by understanding the transcendental nature of God, one can go back home, back to God. So that's what we're trying to do by reading these pastimes and meditating on them. We're trying to understand the nature of the Supreme Lord. And if you can't do that, then you stay in the entanglement of birth and death. So here in the universal form, chapter 11, it says, Sanjaya said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. Obviously, Arjuna became fearful, seeing the universal form of the Lord, with thousands of heads, thousands of arms, thousands of legs. It's bewildering for a human being. And in the purport, it's very nice. It says, when Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayana. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Now, why would he do that? Because the four-armed form of Narayana, you can't cuddle him, you can't, uh, let's say, be intimate with Narayana. So that's why they requested Krishna in the form of Narayana, please go back to your original form, two-armed form. So he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance, but obviously he's not an ordinary child. This is something we have to understand. Just because he can appear as an ordinary child doesn't mean he's not God. That's one of his transcendental potencies. The demons don't understand that. Therefore, demons like Putana and Dhenukasura and all the asuras, they tried to kill the Lord when he appeared in his uh, form as a newborn child or as a child. And they were all killed by the Lord. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayana. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Only in appearance. He was not an ordinary child. And we'll find out. He transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-handed form. But since Arjuna asked to see this four-handed form, Krishna also showed him this form again and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Samyavapu is very significant. Samyavapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he, meaning Krishna, was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna is the director of the universe, Somyavapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna is the director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita 538, it is stated, Brahmanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. Only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Sri Krishna. So what is the ointment of love? It's when you shed tears of ecstasy. So there are hot tears and cold tears. So when you shed tears of ecstasy, those are like cold tears. You're not lamenting. You're overwhelmed with love and devotion. Okay. So, and any questions? Ramanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Hidaya Savilokanti Yam Shama Sundaram Swarupam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Yes. This is a Brahma Samhita. Where's my Brahma Samhita? It's right here. Right down there under dictionary. There it is. Yes. 538. Let's take a look at that. Brahma Samhita, verse 38. And this verse says, second. Yeah. Ramanjana Charita Bhakti Village. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shamsundara, Krishna himself with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their heart of hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the salve of love. Well, what a wonderful verse. Purport by His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. The Shamasundara form of Krishna is his inconceivable, simultaneous, personal and impersonal, self-contradictory form. Now you see, this is an explanation that befuddles the demons. How can he have at the same time a personal form and impersonal form? It's a self-contradictory form. Well, because he's the Supreme Personality of God. Well, for example, uh, sometimes you have Krishna as Parasuram, and at the same time you have Krishna as uh, Lord Krishna, and they meet each other. Now that's befuddling for the people. They're both the same person, but you know, yeah. Because why? Because Krishna has this self-contradictory form. Now that's not a negative thing. That's a positive thing, but it's a positive thing because no one else can emulate that. Only Krishna can do that. True devotees see that form in their purified hearts and under the influence of devotional trance. The form Shama is not the blue color visible in the mundane world, but is the transcendental variegated color affording eternal bliss, and is not visible to the portal eye. Mortal eye. There's a mistake here in the book. On a consideration of the trance of Vyasadeva, as in the sloka Bhakti Yogena Manasi, etc., it'll be clear that the form of Sri Krishna is the full personality of Godhead and can only be visible in the heart of a true devotee, which is the only seat in the state of trance under the influence of devotion. When Krishna manifested himself in Vraja, both the devotees and non-devotees saw him with this very eye, but only the devotees cherished him, eternally present in Vraja, as the priceless jewel of their heart. Nowadays also, the devotees see him in Vraja in their hearts, saturated with devotion, although they do not see him with their eyes. The eye of devotion is nothing but the eye of the pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. The form of Krishna is visible to that eye in proportion to its purification by the practice of devotion. When the devotion of the neophyte reaches the stage of Bhava Bhakti, the pure eye of that devotee is tinged with the salve of love by the grace of Krishna. Salve means an ointment. So, when the devotion of the devotee reaches the stage of Bhava Bhakti, the pure eye of that devotee is tinged with the salve of love by the grace of God, Krishna, which enables him to see Krishna face to face. The phrase in their hearts means Krishna is visible in proportion as their hearts are purified by the practice of devotion. The sum and substance of this sloka is that the form of Krishna, who is Sham Sundara, Natavara, the best dancer, and Murlidhara, the holder of the flute, and Tribhanga, triple bending, is not a mental concoction, but is transcendental and is visible with the eye of the soul of the devotee under trance. Very interesting. This is Brahma Samhita, text 38. Yeah. Okay, so here we see, and here that, you know, the Brahma Samhita is a very advanced spiritual text or book. And to understand it, you actually have to read it many times. And each time you'll see something that you missed in previous times because it's a transcendental text. There's nothing mundane in the Brahma Samhita. Every verse, every word is full of spiritual potency. And the devotee who dives into the Brahma Samhita, or not dies, but dives, Dives, into the Brahma Samhita, very soon realizes that uh, there's many, many different levels of realization that are revealed in the Brahma Samhita, because this is what is Brahma. It was spoken by Lord Brahma himself after he had meditated for 311, I think, trillion years. And then he was able to see Krishna. And this is what that's why it's called Brahma Samhita. This is his, um, this is his mature realization after a very, very long time of meditation on Lord Krishna. And then Krishna appears to him. And then after that, he recited the Brahma Samhita, which are all, transcendental verses glorifying the Lord. So if you want to glorify the Lord every day, you just pick up the Brahma Samhita and read it. And all the verses are glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So what's very important here, it says, when the devotion of the neophyte reaches the stage of Bhava Bhakti, the pure eye of that devotee is tinged with the salve of love by the grace of Krishna. So a salve is what you would call an ointment. They don't sell this ointment in stores around here. Just like they sell, ointments for itchy feet, or an ointment for itching eyes, or an ointment for this, ointment for that. But they don't have an ointment they can put on your eyes. They'll give you. They don't have the eye of that transforms your normal eye into an eye of devotion. Because it says the eye of devotion is nothing but the eye of the pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. The pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. So if we become actually purified by regulated devotional service, then eventually we no longer have normal eyes. And that's why Prabhupada writes here, he says, nowadays also the devotees see him, meaning Krishna, in Raja, in Vaikuntha, in Vrindavan, in their hearts, saturated with devotion, although they do not see him with their eyes. They don't see Krishna with your normal eyes. The eye of devotion is nothing but the eye of the pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. So one has to become completely purified by regulated devotional service to develop eventually this eye of devotion, which is nothing but the eye of the pure, unalloyed spiritual self of the jiva. The form of Krishna is visible to that eye, in proportion to its purification by the practice of devotion. So once I was speaking to this a Muslim man, and I said to him that everything is proportional in spiritual life. And he said, I don't understand. What do you mean by that? I said, well, to the degree that you surrender to Krishna or God, God will reveal himself to you. He said, I don't believe that. That's I don't believe that.
Mhm.
I said, okay, well, that's your choice. But this is the truth.
Mhm.
To the degree you surrender to the Lord will reveal himself to you. Uh, so it's spiritual life is progressive. The more you surrender to the Lord, the more you'll learn about the Lord. Yes, yes. So he was very skeptical about that statement, and which proves that why? Because Muslims don't believe God has a form.
Mhm.
They don't have that information in the Quran. You say, ask Chat. Yeah. Do Muslims believe that God has a form or that God has a body? Let's see what it says. I'm just saying that, look it up in chat, this or that, to see if they have the right answer or not.
In Islam, the belief is that God, Allah, is transcendent and does not have a physical body or form. This concept is known as tanzi in Arabic. Oops. Which means to affirm Allah's absolute transcendence and uniqueness beyond any physical characteristics or limitations. Muslims believe that Allah is beyond human understanding and imagination. The Quran emphasizes Allah's transcendent attributes such as being all powerful, all knowing, all merciful, and all just. These attributes describe Allah's essence and actions but do not imply a physical form or body.
Right.
The Islamic understanding of God's nature is deeply rooted in monotheism,
That means you believe only in one God.
which asserts the absolute oneness and uniqueness of Allah. Therefore, Allah is not anthropomorphized or,
Yeah, it doesn't have a form like a human being.
or conceptualized in human terms, including
See, conceptualized in human
yeah,
terms. That's anthropomorphic.
yeah, including having a body or form. This belief is central to the Islamic theology and distinguishes it from some other religious traditions where gods are depicted in human-like forms or attributes.
It only proves that, yeah, it's unique for the Muslims because they don't have the information about God's form. And it shows their ignorance rather than their spiritual advancement. They're very neophyte devotees of the Lord. And because of that, they will often do, uh, you know, um, bad things.
Hmm.
Like there was this one story of a Muslim who kidnapped a woman from a group that was not practicing Islam. This was in the Middle East, Iraq. She was from some kind of an ancient spiritual uh, group that was in northern Iraq. They were not Muslims, and they were not Christians either. They had their own, you know, history. So he kidnaps this girl, rapes her, and after that, he prays to Allah to be purified. You see, so what good is that prayer? Well, that's actually zero, because how could, in other words, what he's trying to do is validate what he did or purify what he did, which is, a complete, horrible mistake, not mistake, sin. So here we see how confused Muslims are. Uh, this is like, you have 10 offenses against the holy name. And the seventh offense is to think that you can purify a sin by chanting the holy name. Well, you can purify sins by chanting the holy name, but if you use that for like, but that only means you committed the sin accidentally. But if you do it purposely, then that's actually an offense. To purposely think that you can defile someone and simply by chanting Hare Krishna you become purified. So once there was this devotee, and he and this young devotee disappeared from the temple. And after a couple of days, they both came back. So the girl was a new devotee. She wasn't initiated yet, but the person that she went with was an initiated devotee. So I asked him, I said, where did you go? He said, oh, well, I was preaching. I said, okay. But you didn't come back to the temple at night. Well, we were so, involved in transcendental uh, pastimes that we forgot time. I said, that's complete nonsense. I said that, he said, no, 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 you don't understand. I said, I understand perfectly well. You took that girl and you had sex with her. He said, no, 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 I know how to chant Hare Krishna. I said, what do you mean by that? Do you mean that you can have illicit sex and then chant Hare Krishna and purify what you've done? He said, yes, exactly. I said, no, if you purposely do it, that's a sin. If it's some kind of accidental thing that happens, it may be forgiven by chanting. But because you do it purposely, that is a violation of the seventh, the principle of, aparad, of spiritual, of the holy name, like committing sinful activities, thinking you can purify them by simply chanting Hare Krishna. That's in the case of accidentally making mistakes. It's not the case of purposely doing it. So here we see, when he said to me, well, I know how to chant Hare Krishna, then I understood, he's complete nonsense. In other words, he's like the Muslim who rapes, and there was a true story. A Muslim raped a girl that he kidnapped from another different religion in Iraq. And after he raped her, then he started praying to Allah for purification. You see, this is like complete nonsense. All right, so uh,
Well, clearly, because of this universal form, Krishna has shown what the definition of Muslim Allah.
he doesn't have a form.
At that time, the universal definition, universal, I mean, even though it's a universal form,
Yeah,
because they don't have a understanding of the form, but Arjuna tells Krishna the same thing, right? You are the all powerful, all knowing, all pure.
That's what
And
the Muslims
that's
say.
where they stop.
Yeah,
Their definition of Allah is just there.
yeah.
They didn't complete the 11th chapter.
They should read the whole 11th chapter.
Because that's basically their definition.
Because they don't have the information in the Quran. The Quran
So
is not complete.
when I read the story of Muslims, basically because they were fighting because of they had their own idol, each of the tribes.
Yeah.
In the desert, they would have their own idols and they worship the different idols, and then
They had
whenever
one idol for every day of the year.
every day of the year.
Every day. 365 idols.
Hmm. Because I think the main thing is like whenever they would, obviously they were nomadics because they didn't have one place where they would stay. Whenever they would go from one place and then they would leverage all the natural resources of that place. Now they need to start moving to the next place. And then they would come across other tribes. So, and then they would fight to get the access to that particular property or that particular area. And then in the process, they would kill all the men, defile the women, and they would take all their whatever the idols and then with their idols. So it's basically they take over that place. And then apparently Muhammad, when he saw this whole thing, like basically like a third,
All the idols.
all the idols and so on. So that's when apparently I mean, he obviously had a transcendental experience. He was the messenger.
Well, he said basically, Wahad Allah. Wahad means one.
Hmm.
One God. Wahad
Right.
Allah. Sharik la ilahu. He's the father of all living entities.
Hmm.
So he tried to simplify
Correct. So at least for the
everything.
people that can understand, because they can only understand the material dimension at that time. So he tried to come up with a unified language, which is okay, there's only one God,
Right.
and he doesn't have a form, as in like the way that they were worshipping.
Yeah.
But somebody who's, has a higher purification will eventually get to understand that the Lord doesn't have the physical or the material form, but
It has
he
a
does have the
spiritual
spiritual
form.
form.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Exactly right. Yes, I've said this before. There was this one Muslim I was talking to, and I asked him. I said, "You believe God has a form?" He said, "No." I said, "You just insulted God, Allah." He said, "What? What do you mean I insulted Allah?" I said, "Yeah, you insulted him. You're saying that you have something that Allah doesn't have. In other words, you're superior to Allah." And he got confused when I said that, and he didn't want to talk to me anymore after that. But that's a fact. Allah or God has everything and more that we have. But if you try and limit God by saying, well, he has up until this point, and after that, no, no, that's not true. He has everything. He has a form. He also has an impersonal form as well as a personal form. So Krishna can manifest himself in an impersonal form as well as in a specific form. Impersonal form is Brahmajyoti, and a specific form is his incarnations. And there are many incarnations. He can incarnate in uh, any of the different uh, humans and animals. He's the God of all living entities. So he can show a form of an animal also, but it's transcendental. Just like Varaha. Looks like a pig. It's not really a pig because pigs are not as big as Varaha, and they don't fly in the air as Varaha can. They can understand. And by the way, Varaha is very, very big enough to pick up the whole Earth planet. So it's not an ordinary pig. So the Lord can uh, take the form of Varaha. He can take the form of Matsya Avatar, which is a gigantic fish who saved the Vedas from being lost. The great deluge. So you see, there are different periods of time, and there are different periods where there's going to be destruction of the universe up to a certain point. So at the end of time, there'll be full destruction of the universe. But before that, there are many, let's say, lesser destructions. That may stop right at the where the demigods live, you know. But also there's a complete destruction. So there's a lot of things that we can learn about, but only by reading the Bhagavatam, not by going to high school or college and studying Hinduism.
Mhm.
They don't teach you what Hinduism is. They teach you, and usually they use books written by Christians about Hinduism. So they basically get everything wrong. Okay, so are there any questions? We're at the end right now, 7:30.
Mhm. Any questions online? Comments?
So that was chapter 11, verse number 50. Or no, verse number 49 or 50.
Specifically, the chapter we
It
were
was
50,
50.
50, 50.
Yeah, 50.
And then on the original verses is 3:18:10.
Yeah. So what is important in this verse today is Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-handed form. But since Arjuna asked to see this four-handed form, Krishna also showed him this form again, and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Somyavapu is very significant. Somyavapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form, and because Krishna is the director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita 538, it is stated, Pramanjana Charita Bhakti Vilochanena. Only person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Shri Krishna. So what is that ointment of love? It's when you cry with cold tears of love for Krishna, not hot tears of sorrow.
Mm.
Look that up. Is there something as cold tears, or are they different than hot tears?
I just used Chat GPT.
Yeah,
The terms hot tears and cold tears refer to the tears that differ in their emotional context
there you go.
rather than their physical temperature. Hot tears typically denote tears shed in the moments of intense emotion such as sadness, grief, anger, or joy. These tears are often associated with strong feelings that cause physiological reactions, including increased heart rate and heightened emotional responses. On the other hand, cold tears suggest tears shed without an outward display of emotion. These tears may be shed in the moment's quiet reflection, nostalgia, or a subtle form of sadness that doesn't manifest in overt emotional expression.
Okay,
In summary, while tears themselves are physically the same in temperature, the terms hot tears and cold tears describe the emotional states that accompany them.
all right,
It's basically more of reflection, quiet reflection, nostalgia. So,
all
but then
right.
the tears come out because of
One time, a long time ago, before I was a devotee, there was this Armenian uh, dance program going on, and everyone was dancing, and I saw this son dancing with his mother. Right?
mm,
It wasn't like he was holding his mother like that, but they were dancing, without hugging each other, And one time I saw that both the boy and the mother were crying, and I was thinking, that they know why they're crying. I don't know why. They know why they're crying. So they were feeling some emotional things, like maybe the fact that the father died or something, or, there was something going on that I didn't know about, but they knew it, and they were both crying together, remembering what it was. And I was very interested in that because it shows that these emotions sometimes are awakened in exceptional situations. So the exceptional situation here was there was this dance party going on, but they must have both either they were hearing the words of the songs or something triggered their remembrance that caused them to cry. But only they knew. I didn't know what it was. I didn't ask them either. So we see that there are the cold tears and the hot tears. Both are, as it said, due to certain what remembrances or
Yeah, quiet reflection, nostalgia, or a subtle form of sadness that doesn't manifest in overt expression.
right. Nostalgia is a very nice word. It's remembering things from the past that have a real,
Emotional.
emotional. Looked at the definition of the word nostalgia. What's it say?
Nostalgia is a sentimentality for the past, typically for a period or place with happy personal associations. It involves a longing or affectionate remembrance for experience, events, or moments that evoke positive emotions, even if they were not necessarily perfect or ideal at the time. Nostalgia often brings about a bittersweet feeling, combining happiness for the memory with a sense of longing or yearning for that past time or place.
See, that's a very important statement. Yearning for the pastime and the place. You see, because people realize that this was something that happened in the past, and the only connection they have to it is their memory.
Hmm. Hmm.
They can't relive it.
It can be triggered by various stimuli such as sights, sounds, smells, or even certain activities that remind individuals of earlier times in their lives.
Right. So this is the difference between the material world and the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, everything is eternal and transcendental. In the material world, everything is under the control of time. And you can't go back in time. You can only go forward in time in the material world. But in the spiritual world, you have the eternal present. It's different than the material world. Why don't you look it up? Look that up.
So can we experience nostalgia in spiritual world then? Or not?
Yeah, because there's eternal present.
Spiritual world, nostalgia.
What did you ask them to look at, Mara?
Look up nostalgia. Yeah.
Thanks.
Did you already look it up?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, you did. No, what you want to look up is hmm. You want to just forgot.
Does anybody remember what Maharaj asked us to look up?
So in the spiritual world, is there a difference between the spiritual world and the material world? Yes. In the material world, there's past, present, and future. In the spiritual world, there's eternal present. You perceive things differently. Like in the spirit material world, you perceive things in terms of past, present, and future. But in the spiritual world, you perceive things as the eternal present. So you know, in the material world, you see things in terms of the passage of time. And the spiritual world, you see things in terms of non-passage of time. In other words, when the gopis were enjoying Rasa Lila with Krishna, it went on for millions of years, although it was only one night, but it went on for millions of years. So that's the difference between the spiritual world. You can look that up if the rasa dance with the duration of the rasa dance of the gopis with Krishna. You see, transcendental life is nothing like material life. It's completely transcendental. Yes, what does it say?
The duration of the rasa dance of the gopis is described as lasting for one night of Brahma, which is equal to 4.32 billion human years.
There you are. That's a long dance. Yeah.
Yeah. The Bhagavad Purana describes the rasa dance as a mystical and divine event where Lord Krishna expands simultaneously with each gopi who represents the pinnacle of pure devotion and love for Krishna. The dance is considered a symbol of the highest spiritual love and union between the Jivatma and the Paramatma, or the individual soul and the supreme soul. While the dance itself is described as spanning one night of Brahma, its significance goes beyond literal time measurement, emphasizing timeless and eternal nature of Krishna's pastimes and the devotion of gopis.
You see? Unless we read the Bhagavatam, we'll never really understand things that are going on in the spiritual world. There's no way we can even guess correctly what's going on in the spiritual world because all these things are beyond our experience in the material world. And our experience in the material world is always limited by time. In the spiritual world, time is perceived by its uh, by its continuance. In material world, we experience time by its passage. In the spiritual world, we experience time by its non-passage. In other words, the Rasa Lila dance is going on and on and on and on, you know, and the feelings that we're experiencing are increasing, 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 increasing. So we're not bored. It's not like, you know, there's a long dance and it's very boring. No, and this is going on for hundreds and millions of years, but it's increasing all the time in ecstasy. You see how you can't if there's a mundane, let's say, author and he translates the pastimes of Krishna, he cannot understand these things. So he uh you know uh he will translate in terms of human time and human relationships. And basically he undermines the whole transcendental nature of Krishna's pastimes. So only a devotee can properly write about Krishna and his pastimes. So you can see if you read books written by English, so-called English people who were Vedantists, right? What they would write, what they have written, uh, is to portray Krishna as an ordinary human being. Why don't you look that up? What are you going to look up? You're going to look up the English and German Vedantists uh, writing about the pastimes of Krishna. Portrayed Krishna as an ordinary human being. What did it say?
Yeah. So here, the portrayal of Krishna as an ordinary human being, particularly in the context of Vedanta, varies depending on the interpretation and philosophical school within Vedanta. Vedanta encompasses various philosophical traditions based on the Vedas, and interpretations of Krishna's pastimes can differ significantly among scholars and practitioners. English Vedanta. In the English speaking world, Vedanta is often associated with the teachings of Swami Vivekananda and the Ramakrishna mission.
Oh man, that's a mess.
Vivekananda emphasizes the universal and practical aspects of Vedanta and focusing on the divinity within each individual and the unity of all religions. His interpretations of Krishna's life and teachings generally emphasize the spiritual essence of Krishna as a divine incarnation rather than portraying him purely as an ordinary human being. German Vedanta has also been studied and interpreted in Germany, where scholars and practitioners engage deeply in the Hindu philosophical texts and traditions. Scholars like Paul Busen, who translated and wrote extensively on Indian philosophy, including Vedanta, provided interpretations that generally acknowledge Krishna as a divine figure with profound spiritual teachings. However, interpretations may vary among individual scholars based on their philosophical perspectives and research focus. Regarding the portrayal of Krishna as an ordinary human being, some modern interpretations influenced by historical and textual criticism have attempted to approach Krishna's narratives from a more critical and secular perspective. These interpretations may focus on socio-cultural aspects of Krishna's life and the development of his mythological narratives within Hindu traditions. However, within traditional Vedanta and devotional contexts, Krishna is primarily revered as an avatar of Vishnu or a supreme being, embodying the divine qualities and performing extraordinary deeds for the benefit of humanity. In summary, while there
That's wrong, of course. Krishna is not an expansion of Vishnu.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so if we learn about Krishna from the so-called scholars and Vedantists, we'll get misled very easily. If we read about Krishna from bona fide scriptures like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, we'll never be misled, especially if we also read and hear it spoken by genuine devotees, because then you can ask questions if there is something you don't understand. So the best thing is to hear the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and then ask questions. If you simply read it on your own, you don't have a chance to ask any questions, so you can misinterpret it. So one time this boy called me up and said he was interested in Bhagavad Gita. I said, okay, well, we have classes on Bhagavad Gita all the time. Welcome to come. He said, no, I want to do it on my own. I said, what do you mean on your own? He said, I don't want to go to any class. I just want the book and I'll read it on my own. I said, but that's not the way to learn. He said, oh, I don't care. And then he hung up. Yeah. Okay, so I guess we'll stop there. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Krishna, if there are any questions or comments, if not, we'll.
I have a quick question, Maharaj. So
Yes.
even in the sometimes we find that even in the devotee community, like people have different interpretations. For example, when did Lord Ram appeared last time? So some people will say, million years ago. Some people will say like hundreds of millions years ago because he was in 24th Chatur Yuga and all. So how do we like reconcile even different interpretation or different, you know, if it is coming from devotee community, but still there are differences.
Well, you should only read books that have been translated by Srila Prabhupada and the Vaishnava Acharyas, and avoid the other books that are written and other people who are so-called pundits. You have to have the faith that the Vaishnava Sampradaya is bona fide. Therefore, uh, whatever is written by bona fide uh, pundits, so this Vaishnava Sampradaya is valid, and other people who write about Krishna but are not in a bona fide disciplic succession, they can make mistakes, and they often do make mistakes. Like for example, there was this one famous uh, Vedantist. So when the sacrificial horse was taken away and was left with an incarnation of Krishna. There was 60,000 uh, men that approached the incarnation of Krishna and saw that the horse, for the sacrifice was standing next to him, next to Krishna. So they started running toward Krishna and the horse to basically kill Krishna and take the horse back. But then they were burned and died, all 60,000. So if you read the Mayavad uh, translation, it's that uh, the incarnation of Krishna burned them with his anger. But if you read the explanation by Vaishnavas, it's that they were not burned by the anger of Krishna. And Krishna was transcendental, is always transcendental. He's not influenced by mundane anger. They were burned by their own anger, and they were all, consumed by the fire of their own anger. Let's see if we can find that pastime.
Yeah, King Sagara's son.
King Sagara's sons. Yeah, he had 60,000 sons, right?
Yeah, King Sagara had 60,000 sons, and they were doing this Ashwamedha Yajna,
Yeah.
which is a horse sacrifice. King Sagara decided to perform Ashwamedha Yajna to establish his sovereignty and expand his empire. During the ritual, the ceremonial horse went missing. So then all the 60,000 sons went to search for it across the earth. And then eventually they found the horse near the hermitage of sage Kapila, who was deep in his meditation. And mistaking sage Kapila for being thief who had stolen the horse, the sons insulted and disturbed his meditation. And enraged by their actions and disrespect, sage Kapila opened his eyes in anger. This is where they're. I'm not reading from Bhagavatam. I'm just reading.
Yeah, this is the Mayavad.
Mayavad.
Yeah.
Due to the power of Kapila's anger, all the 60,000 sons of King Sagra were instantly burned to ashes.
You know that is a mundane interpretation of the pastime. Now look it up in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Look up that pastime in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is why you should only hear from the Bhagavatam. Don't read the so-called pundits or Vedantas books.
So this is on the Canto 9, Chapter 8. The sons of Sagra meet Lord Kapiladev. Here, the sons of Rohita or Harita son of Champa. I'm just trying to see if I can.
Tons of saga, right?
Yeah. Try to skip to the point where
And this is Srimad Bhagavatam.
this is Canto 9, Chapter 8.
What's it say?
Yeah.
Chapter 7, Prabhu.
Chapter 7, maybe the one before. No? Maybe that's where the story starts.
Okay, Mataji.
You already found? You can read it, Mataji.
Yeah, sure, Prabhu. Following the instructions of the great sage Aurva, Sagara Maharaja performed Aswamedha sacrifices and thus satisfied the Supreme Lord, who is the supreme controller, the super soul of all learned scholars, and the knower of all Vedic knowledge, the supreme personality of Godhead. But Indra, the king of heaven, stole the horse meant to be offered at the sacrifice. King Sagra had two wives, Sumati and Keshini. The sons of Sumati, who were very proud of their prowess and influence, following the order of their father, searched for the lost horse. While doing so, they dug into the earth very extensively. Thereafter, in the northeastern direction, they saw the horse near the ashrama of Kapila Muni. Here is the man who has stolen the horse, they said. He is staying there with closed eyes. Certainly he is very sinful. Kill him, kill him. Shouting like this, the sons of Sagra, 60,000 altogether, raised their weapons. When they approached the sage opened his eyes. By the influence of Indra, the king of heaven, the sons of Sagra had lost their intelligence and disrespected a great personality. Consequently, fire emanated from their own bodies and they were immediately burned to ashes.
So when you hear the explanation by a Mayavadi or by a mundane Vedantis, they'll say that the Kapila opened his eyes and burned the 60,000. But here, this is the correct thing.
Mhm.
It's the rage that they had for the Lord
in their
that
body.
burned them. You see how there's differences. That's why we should only read bona fide shastras by bona fide devotees. So why don't you read the same passage written by a scholar?
Hmm.
Can you look that up?
Yeah, the one that I just read. Man.
The one you just read. Okay.
Yeah.
What does it say? How did the sons get burned?
Yeah, here it says, due to the power of Kapila's anger, all the 60,000 sons were instantly burned to ashes.
Yeah. So here they say the opposite, that it was Kapila Muni that burned him. But what Mataji just read is the correct uh, explanation. It was the anger that the sons of Sagar were manifesting that burned them.
Can you read that, Mataji, one more?
Yeah, sure. By the influence of Indra, the king of heaven, the sons of Sagra had lost their intelligence and disrespected a great personality. Consequently, fire emanated from their own bodies, and they were immediately burned to ashes.
You see the difference between the commentary of speculators and the bona fide commentator. Now, why would the commentator the of the speculators get it wrong? Because they're seeing everything from the human perspective. That obviously, if someone was burned, they were burned by an outside influence or an outside person, and not that they were burned by their own fire of anger. You see, so the same pastime written by a scholar who's bringing everything down to the human level is different than the purport of a genuine devotee who is explaining things from the transcendental point of view. Therefore, there are major differences, and this is one of them. This is a glaring one that they got wrong. You know. So thank you, Mataji. Thank you very much.
There is a purport for this, Maharaj, if you want me to read.
Yeah, go ahead, read it. Read it. Yeah.
The material body is a combination of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. There is already fire within the body, and our practical experience is that the heat of this fire sometimes increases and sometimes decreases. The fire within the bodies of the sons of Sagra Maharaja became so much hotter that all of them burned to ashes. The fire's increased heat was due to their misbehavior toward a great personality. Such misbehavior is called Mahad Vetikrama. They were killed by the fire of their own bodies because of insulting a great personality.
And you see, when the mundane scholars translate from Sanskrit to English, they use their own, what you would call, interpretation. They can't extend. They consider that everyone is a mundane person, including Krishna. So they interpret things in terms of their own mundane experience. They're not correctly writing from the transcendental point of view. They're writing from their own material point of view. And therefore, they make a lot of mistakes when they translate from the Sanskrit to English. So thank you very much, Mataji. Thank you. Okay, so I think we'll stop now. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Please chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Bol. You have some service today to do at the Veg Fest?
Yes, Maharaj. And taking care of the spices both.
Oh, good. You better hurry up. You shouldn't get there later than 24.